Yeah.
I just like it. Yeah.
Good morning. Allow me to interrupt these two.
Jim, before we get started,
I get to.
Wait a minute, but Jim, before we get started, I already plugged a Stone Kettle on my Facebook page. I already that you're doing a fundraiser, so I already made a mention of it, and I'll mention it again.
All right, well,
please, please get around to mentioning the Ripple Effect book on your page as soon as you can.
Oh, and then do me a favor, go to private chat and put a link there, and I'll see what I can do with it on here.
Okay, I will do that.
Hey, and while we're at it, good morning. Welcome, one and all, each and every one of you to B-Cube Sunday morning, last Sunday with David and Jim. Now, this is a special last Sunday. It's the last Sunday of the year, okay? I mean, we have, and I'm sure these guys got something to talk about because I know Jim has probably put 100,000 miles on his car this year.
Yeah, it's been a lot. I don't think quite that much, but pretty close.
And David has found out that the country has two coasts.
Yeah, the best and the least.
So, welcome to B-Cube Sunday morning, and tell us about your year or whatever the heck we want to talk about today.
Who's up? You first, David.
Well, we moved from Los Angeles, from Northridge to San Fernando Valley to Vermont, and it worked out better than we hoped. We were able to sell the house in Northridge for more than we expected. We were able to find the absolute best possible house in Vermont. We have a lake, we have a forest, we have beautiful grandkids. My son is having a great deal of fun. I have the most wonderful daughter-in-law in the world, and we're just having a great time. And we're adjusting very, very well to a new way of living. The trip east was mostly uneventful, and it's expensive to move, but we were able to swing it. So this has been a very good year. Last year at this time, we were worried that we would be stuck in LA for a while with the population pressure and the density and everything. But here we are in an area that is kind of remote. We don't have a lot of people around us. We have all the facilities we need within a half hour. And so we are definitely a step up for us. So we're good. We had a good year, and we're expecting 2024 to be a good year too.
So I should have followed the David Gerrold plan. See, when I moved from Alaska to the Panhandle of Florida. So I went the opposite way. I went from like great to not great. So, but it's been for me, it's been a fairly mobile year. I spent most of this year on the road, away from home. I was at Worldcon in Chicago, so I saw some of you guys there. I saw David there, and both of you guys. And I think all three of us were at MizCon in Missoula, which was great. But I spent a lot of this year driving back and forth. I've driven Highway 65 from one end to the other, the entire length of that crappy highway, 9 times this year. That's 18,000 miles back and forth. And I really don't care if I ever see Highway 65 again, but I probably will. So it's just been that kind of year. I haven't done nearly as much right. Heavy backlogged. I'm hoping this month, though. This month I intend to turn everything off and do nothing but write for about the next 30 days. But on the other hand, this was a great year for me in photography. So I shot a lot of great pictures. As I traveled across North America this year, I shot a lot of what I think are great shots. I probably have a higher regard for my own work than it deserves, but I shot a lot of great shots, and I think some of the folks out there have bought calendars. I did. This is the first year I've done calendars, and they seem to be pretty popular, so that's always great. I think I got a couple more coming. They're a hell of a lot of work. Calendars are like just an amazing amount of work. I can't. Wow, man, Jesus, but. I got a couple more up my sleeve that we're going to try. I'm trying to get some pelicans together, so see how that goes. My big thing this year, I got to go see David. He sent me sent me a picture of his guest room, and so now I got to go to Vermont.
Yeah, we got a TV in the guest room now, so you can stay up late watching whatever.
Yeah,
So,
you know me, I don't ever watch TV. So
well, mostly
Vermont,
what we
man,
do is we put on scenery from YouTube. So,
we'll go out. What we'll do is I'll drag your ass out in the woods. We'll go shoot pictures. I'll drag you along.
oh, that would be great. Yeah, yeah.
Great photography there.
Yeah, I have a nice little Sony A6300 that I really need to use, and I have a couple of 3D cameras that I really want to get back in the habit of.
Yeah.
But I'm getting a little shaky. I'll be 80 in another 4 weeks, and so I got to be just a little. I got to get a stabilizer.
Yeah, right. We can do it. We can do it. Or you shoot fast. You shoot fast shutter speed. I got to say though, man, for a guy that's pushing 80, you're in better shape than I am, man. God damn, I'm not going to make it that far, I don't think. But hell, I'm in shape as you are by the time I get there.
I just want to live long enough to be a burden to my kids.
That's exactly right. So, but yeah, it's been a year. It definitely, and I suspected as crazy as 2023 has been, 2024 is going to be what's the Chinese curse? Interesting times. Yeah, I suspect that's what we're looking at.
I think personally, 2024 is going to be good for me and my family. But I think the nation we are heading into some serious trouble. I don't want to get into that discussion.
Yeah.
I mean, I just speculated, I'll give you this much. I just speculated that if Trump gets on the ballot, either way, we're going to have a civil war. If he wins, he's declared that he's going after his enemies. He will use the federal government to go after the press, his political opponents, anybody who disagrees with him. And if he loses, he's going to claim the election was rigged and turn loose his followers on all kinds. And the Secretary of State in Maine was just swatted because she took him off the ballot. And of course, some of his people, they think violence is an acceptable solution to disagreement. And that's where we're going to go. So either way, there's going to be violence.
Yeah, it's something, man. I've been watching this. You talked about Secretary of Maine just got swatted. I see a couple of writers online with, of course, Patrick Tomlinson's been dealing with this for goddamn I don't know how long now. And then I saw Marjorie Taylor Greene got swatted, and I think another couple of Republican politicians did. It's bullshit, man. Whether it's happening to Republicans or whether it's happening to Democrats or it's happening to anybody. We need some federal laws that to put the screws down, and this using the cops to in an attempt to kill people that you don't like is that's reprehensible. And I don't care who you are, what your political ideology is, or who you're aiming at. That entire mentality of swatting is
cowardice. It is cowardice.
Yeah,
it's stochastic terrorism. It's getting somebody else to do a terrible thing, and you have so-called clean hands. And that, oh no, I didn't do it. Somebody else did it. It's like I just turned them loose. So it
should be happening to anybody. I mean, it's as much as I despise people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't want to see her swatted. That's not how we're supposed to be solving our problems in the United States of America, and nobody deserves that one way or the other. And again, it's turning the institutions of democracy against each other. I mean, goddamn, the cops are killing people already without people phoning it in. But it's astounding. What's astounding to me is the world that these people think that they want to live in. They want to live in a nation that solves its problems, its internal problems and external ones, through that kind of terroristic violence. And that kind of stuff is, I'll say it's great, but that stuff is attractive to a certain mentality when they're the ones on top, when they're the ones that are pushing that sort of violence. And, the example, of course, always will be 1930s Germany. And, when you're the people that are burning down the houses and hurting the people you don't like in the ghettos, it's pretty great, but it always ends the same way. And then it's not great. And the thing is that 10 years later, after you burned half the world down and murdered 12 million people, then they interview these people, and if you watch the interviews with average so-called non-Nazi Germans at the in 1946, and it's always shows some sobbing housewife from Heidelberg talking about, well, we didn't know what was happening. Oh, that's bullshit. You knew exactly what was happening.
Yeah,
And as long as it was happening to somebody else, you were okay with it. Yeah.
They knew what was going on at Auschwitz. They
Absolutely
made
knew
jokes
what
about
the hell was
Jewish
going on.
soap and lampshades.
And they voted for it, and they supported it. And it's the same thing here in America. You see people that support the current hard swerve towards that same exact fascism. And don't get wrapped around the axle on fascism. That's a convenient label. Whether it meets the exact definition of the previous fascist regimes is irrelevant. What matters is the fact that we're headed in that authoritarian direction by a hell of a lot of people who really think that that's how they want to live. And the worst, and the problem with these people is they're short-sighted. Again, I'm dealing with folks online. Yesterday, I had some clown show up and talk about chunks of the Constitution when it's very, very obvious that this person has never read the Constitution, has absolutely no idea what the hell it means, and their version of it isn't even the Sesame Street version. It's the version of it's the right-wing 3%er version that you heard at the Klan meeting from your redneck neighbors of the Constitution. It bears absolutely no resemblance to reality. And what's astounding to me is these people think that they want to live in that world. And they never seem to realize that that sort of authoritarianism always needs an enemy. And when they've eliminated their enemies, when they've herded all the easy targets into camps and gas chambers, they still need an enemy. And then they come
let
to
me
you.
add something to that. It even on a local level, there was a group on CompuServe that many years ago, and a bunch of them took issue with the disagreement they were getting. Some of it from me, and they all quit en masse and went off to their own private space. And I wasn't invited, but I only heard about it afterward. Is without any common enemies to go after, they turned on each other.
Right.
And it's like, I'm not surprising, because what these people wanted was someone to fight with, someone to hate, right, someone to disagree with. And when they went to a place where they had thought there was no disagreement, they turned on each other, and they ended up losing what they thought were friends. Everybody, I heard about this secondhand, is that everybody in that group ended up hating almost everybody else in that group. It's like, dude, you went in the wrong direction.
Exactly. I remember some of that, because I think it's the first time I ever spoke to you was all those years ago at CompuServe, and because you ran one of the best groups on CompuServe, and then I was in the military. In fact, I think the first time I spoke to you, I actually was coming to you from a 9600, not 1000, baud Inmarsat link off in Shimmy
That was
Island.
pretty fast in those days.
Yeah, that was fast. That was a rocking connection. Of course, CompuServe was mostly tech, so it was.
Well, there was a thing that we used with CompuServe called TapSys, which you would write all your messages, and then it would upload and download everything. And because if you did it live, you were spending like $200-300 a month. But if you did with TapSys, you were down to $30 or $40 a month, which was, there was a lot of good resources on CompuServe.
Oh yeah.
But every January was Idiot Month, because all these people who had gotten the CompuServe
got the little flyer in the mail, right? The disc,
and so we would get this influx of new members, and the collective IQ would drop every January, and so the people who were the editors and the pilots and the people who were writing the software and the people who understood filmmaking, they left because they couldn't deal with the level of idiocy that was showing up. Right. So anyway,
I remember that. But it's funny though that we're seeing that same thing play out again now. When you see the wreckage that is Twitter, that Elon Musk is, essentially. I mean, we all know what's happened. I don't need to recap that this year. But what's funny is if you check it, I maintain a placeholder over there, because otherwise someone will grab my name and handle and then broadcast as me, and I don't need that kind of grief. And so I maintain a placeholder. So every once in a while I check it just to clear the cobwebs out. And when I do, I look around and it's that it's become a platform of white supremacists and neo-Nazis and wannabe fascists and Elon Musk fanboys. And without the people who left, they don't have anybody they don't have any libs to own. So now they're busy, eating each other or abandoning the platform and coming to other platforms, the Threads in particular. I see a lot of people complaining that they're showing up on Threads. I'll tell you, and that's a thing I see. I mean, this morning, my entire feed on Threads is full of people bitching and complaining about that it's not that it's becoming a version of Twitter. And the answer to that is it's only becoming that if social media is always going to be that. It's always going to be whatever was CompuServe 30 years ago or Threads today. You can't. It's a screenshot of the larger society. What you see, but what you see is largely on you. If you're seeing a lot of hate and rage and that kind of thing, that's because that's the stuff that you look for. And I curate my feed. And people who know me or follow me for years know that I'm the king of blocking, man. If you irritate me or you engage in garbage, toxic behavior, out the airlock you go, and I'm not going to put up with it. I do occasionally ridicule people. Some of these jack guy the other day thought that he was mad. He's some far left progressive, and he was mad that Joe Biden hadn't I don't know, revamped the petroleum industry with an executive order. I mean, because apparently this guy seems to think that the president can just issue a imperial decree and order business to do what he wants. It's astounding to me how to actually understand how the government actually works. And but again, if you don't want to see that kind of nonsense, throw those people out the goddamn airlock and shut the door behind them. And that's what I do. And I follow the people.
Life is too short. Life is too short for bullshit. And once I realized, I don't have to deal with this anymore. Things got a lot more peaceful and a lot more pleasant. And it's like, once I learned I could scroll down and not have to respond to everything, life got really nice.
Yeah, it's a lot easier. Like I said, you don't have to fight. And people see me say this online quite a bit, is you don't have to fight with every jackass who comes along. I mean, I'm not telling you not to fight. Fight if you want to, but pick your battles. Don't be ambushed. Don't be suckered into some fight on somebody else's goddamn ground. If you're going to fight on your terms, on your territory, with everything stacked in your favor. We said, yeah. I mean, I spent some time with. I wasn't one myself, but I spent time with. 20 years. Those of you who know me know that I'm retired military. I'm a retired intelligence guy. My guy was grab information. I wasn't a snake eater, but I spent a lot of time with those guys. And they used to have this saying that the best way to kill a man is from a distance in the back, and that's true online. I would on their grounds, on their terms, on their threads, on their whatever. And I don't go looking for these people either. That's the other thing. And I see a lot of some people. They bitch and complain about conflict, but they're looking for conflict all the time, And so don't go.
There's a thing that the tallest trees get the most wind, and you are one of the tallest trees in this particular forest, and so you're going to get your share of wind.
It's a crack.
But the tallest trees also get the most light.
Yeah, and there's that. There's absolutely that. The thing is, again, and I said this to somebody online the other day that was he'd asked me about. A writer that I follow, a really great guy, young guy who is very prominent, writes wonderful stuff. He's having kind of a rough time on social media, or maybe not, maybe just looks that way. And so I wanted him to know how much I enjoyed his stuff. And I said something, and some random guy rolled out of the internet to say to me, well, isn't even responding to a writer like this, making things worse. I mean, no, man, it's not. It's first of all, creative people often have self-doubts or they hear a lot of negative stuff. They don't hear a lot of positive, because when things are good and people enjoy your work, They don't say anything. Maybe they click the like button, maybe they don't. But if they don't like you, man, you hear that. So there's this bias towards seeing nothing but negative stuff if you're a creator, which I'm well knows. And
Well, let me tell you, it's this from this side. Let me interrupt for a minute. From this side, I can get 100 positive responses to a book, but the one I'll remember is the person who says you missed this or you got it wrong, and right, it has this outsized effect.
Right, that's the one you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning thinking about, and I'm the same way. And so, like I said, so when I see a writer, when I see not just writers but creatives, musicians, writers, artists, photographers, and and I can offer encouragement or support, or even just a hey, man, you know, you're not alone. I try to do that. I try to remember to do that because, as people, you know, as I've said, people know me. They buy T-shirts with my name on my face on it that say, "If you want a better nation, be a better citizen." Well, that's part of it. Encouraging each other and holding each other up. And you know, and so like I said, the guy said to me, "Well, you know, is it even responding to somebody making the world a worse place?" No, the world is what you make of it, man. You know, if you're determined to make everything shitty, well, then everything will be shitty for you. And social media is very much that. Airlock the idiots, man. Drink fine whiskey and pet your damn dog and have a better day. You know, I see the same thing though. I see the same people that say, "Well, it's not reality. Go outside. You know, get a real life." Well, that's a hell of a position of privilege because not everybody can do that. And for a lot of folks that died alone in previous generations, social media offers a window to the world. And so to tell somebody, well, just get off social media and go outside, well, that's a hell of a position of privilege, man. And I hope that you are never in a position where you're shut in and your only window to the world is man.
The social media has made it possible for people like myself who spend large amounts of time sitting alone in a room talking to ourselves to actually have a social life and interact with other people, and because other people are source material. And so to actually have that access to other people, and now, you know, like the video conferences, which is a total blessing for me, because I don't have to leave my house and I can still interact with people. And when I'm bored with you, I can turn you off.
Right. That's like you said, my current,
but I love
that's
it.
my current, you know, the current post that's up on, you know, on Stone Kettle Station is about why people become writers. And most of it is because we become writers because we're not social people. We don't want to interact with others on a face-to-face basis. And we like wearing pajamas all day, you know, and it makes us sweaty when we have to go outside where all the people are. And,
I can remember sitting at my typewriter stark naked because it was more important to write than to get dressed.
Right, exactly. Right. You know, and that's there's a mental image for you. And, but it was funny though. I was just thinking of you the other day. I was just thinking about you, right? And not thinking of you naked at typewriter though, you know. But I happened to rewatch The Martian Child and the Cusack film, The Martian Child, and I spent all day thinking about you all afternoon. So
it's not a great movie.
It's not a great
because they got so much. They got parenting wrong and they got adoption wrong, but it's still it still works.
It's still a great story. You know what I'm saying? It's not the book. It's not the novella. It's not your original story. There's that, but it still leaves you with a lump in your throat at the end of it. And, you know, and so for those of you who don't know, David, who's one of the finest writers in the country, Vela years ago, Child, which is correct me if I'm wrong here, but a fictionalized version of David's own life and his own journey. And if you haven't read that, now would be a really good time to go to Amazon and download a copy of it. So.
It's I think it's probably the best thing I've ever
won the Hugo
written
for that, right?
It came straight from the heart. A Hugo and
a
Nebula,
yeah. I mean, that is it's man, I get choked up even thinking of story, David. Shit. It's if you haven't read The Martian Child,
The Martian Child turns 40 this year. He turns 40 this year, and he's got two kids of his own. And that's the success is they didn't think he'd ever be a functioning adult, and I still have my doubts, but he's he's doing pretty
doubts
good.
about both of us becoming functional adults. Hopefully someday.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of proud of him. He has his good days, and then there are the days I regret not having strangled him in his bed. But other than that, he is a remarkable
Your pride
man.
your son doesn't come through at all, David. Not at all.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's like I said though. So if you guys, a shameless plug here for David's work, and I've been a fan of David Gerrold since I started reading a long time ago, and so you guys should get out there and definitely buy a copy of that book if you don't buy anything else. But
okay, and so you may have noticed, guys, that there's been a few books flashing across the screen, which is why I put myself on the bottom so that they didn't cover your.
Right. Thank you very much, Bob. That's I'm glad you're doing that, but make sure that you also plug the Wright stuff. That is Jim Wright's Stone.
We're good.
And he should call it the Wright stuff, but he's too proud to engage.
Oh God! Years ago when I named the place, I wanted something that was unique and different, and I very rarely tell people the story of where the name came from, and I'm not going to do it today, but. It gave me back then, if you were doing search engine optimization and that kind of stuff, I wanted something unique. And if you type in the right stuff, you didn't get me, you got somebody else. So nowadays, if you type in Stone Kettle, you only get one person. It's me. And so, but anyway. So.
Anyway, I already plugged Jim. When I put up Alternative Truths.
That's true. In fact, we were talking about alternative truths and alternative war yesterday on Threads, I think. And so.
Yeah, well, I will tell you this, Alternative Truths. I hired an actor to come out there, put on an Abraham Lincoln hat with a blonde wig.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And read your speech that you wrote for Trump at Gettysburg.
That's right.
We posted that puppy. It got 7,000 hits within hours of going up.
Yeah, it's like a day or something.
Nobody writes Trump's words as well as Jim Wright.
That's not a compliment, man. That's there's got to be something wrong with you to be able to do that. I think. Oh God, I think I've been in that guy's head for way too long. Oh, we should go away. We were talking about that this morning. Someone, prominent journalist, had said, this will be Trump's third try at the White House. It's not his third try. This is his fourth try. He ran as the Reform Party candidate in 2000, and this guy tried to get himself appointed as Bush's vice president in his second term. In his first term, he called up Lee Atwater, tried to bribe him into making Trump the vice presidential candidate for George W. Bush. And to which I believe even George W. Bush's answer was, "What the fuck," But this guy he wasn't even involved in politics until 1987, and he was registered. The first time that Trump ever registered in a political party was in 1987 as a Republican, and then when he didn't get any traction there, he went to the Reform Party. He was their candidate in 2000, and then when that fell through almost immediately, he became a Democrat, and then back to Republican. The man has no principles. He just wants power. He doesn't give a shit what party it is. He doesn't care who his enemies are. He doesn't care how he gets there, as long as he's the in charge and he gets to push everybody else the hell around. The guy's a fraud. He's a fraud at every step of the way. And I've been following this guy, I don't know, for years, decades now. And so when you talk about writing Trump, well, yeah, I live for the day that none of us ever have to mention this name ever again. I just hope America outlives this asshole.
I have said more than once that I would be happy to sing at his funeral. It won't be great singing, but I'll be happy. It won't be great singing, but I'll be very
Absolutely.
happy.
I can't sing, but God damn it, I'll be there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but you realize that they're going to have to install a dance floor over his grave. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They're going to bury him next to his ex-wife there at Bedminster or wherever the hell he is. It's not Bedminster; it's the other one, I think. But yeah,
Well, let me put in some thoughts. He has managed to alienate a large part of the voting public, women in general. Abortion rights is energizing the opposition, but he's also immigrants, Muslims, Jews, students, teachers, labor, and all he has left is angry white men living in the South. And evangelicals are abandoning him, and other people are starting to. So he may not have the strength to. He may get on the ballot, but he may not have the strength to win unless they rig the election again, like they did in 2016. And that's the big fear: is are we going to have real election security in 2024?
Yeah, and like I said, it's again, you and I've written about this many times now, where I just had somebody talking to me the other day. Some jackass on Threads rolled in to yell about election integrity. I'm all about it. Let's if you want voter ID, great. Let's issue a federal voter ID that you can't reject once the people have it, but it's got to be free, and every eligible voter has to be able to get it without action, which means there needs to be an office in every goddamn neighborhood. People have to be able to get to it. They have to be able to get that without caveat, without 3%ers standing in the way, without any rigmarole. Get your goddamn ID, and then when you show up with your ID, your government issued ID, you get the hell out of the way and let those people vote, and they will put this shit to rest. You know, if you want paper ballots that people have to count by hand because you think that that's more accurate, fine. But you're not results that night. We'll hold election results off. Every state will count their goddamn ballots to go through their verification process, and a week later, all at once at the same time, we'll announce the winners for each state. Now, you don't want to do that because what they don't actually want election integrity. They don't actually want what they say. What they want is the right to manipulate the goddamn elections to get the results that they want. That's what they mean by election integrity. And a perfect example of that is Arizona. These people claimed up and down. Trump claimed up and down Arizona was rigged. And the Arizona Republican government hired a biased Republican-owned accounting firm to audit their election, and they found no irregularities. They found that Trump lost. And the answer to that wasn't, okay, we verified the integrity of our election. The answer was, we don't accept reasons. You can't, that's not democracy. And these people are not interested in democracy. They're interested in the kind of democracy that you have in North Korea, where you have one party, one candidate, and everybody votes for that guy every time, or they get taken out in a field and have a bullet put in their head. That's the kind of goddamn democracy that they want. You know, and these are not people that you can reason with.
That's probably the key word right there, Jim.
Yeah. Well,
you can't reason with them.
They didn't reason their way into this position, can't reason their way out of it. These are people that believe that cell phone towers are manipulating microchips in vaccines to do something. Those are not, that's not a conversation that you can have reasonably with another human being. Fucking crazy is what that is. All right. But again, this is an entire population that has been conditioned for 40 years to believe that some 900-year-old guy and his three sons built a boat the size of a World War II cruiser out of wood in his backyard and put two of every kind of animal on it and survived the entire destruction of the known universe. The people who believe that believe any people out of that position. You know,
logic doesn't impact emotion.
Well, And this is, it's bad enough when this is a fringe belief. But it becomes absolutely destructive, catastrophic to democracy and the republic when you allow the public school system to accept that as an answer. When we allow children to write on their biology exams, the end of the republic is not far away. Because the one thing that a democratic republic absolutely depends on is a rational, reasonable, well-educated population. And this is, of course, why people like Trump despise education and rationality and logic. And this is the boat that we're in. These are my neighbors. These are the people that keep electing Matt Gaetz. These are the people that are my neighbors that have signs in their front yard that say, keep Matt Gaetz fighting for us. Fighting for you? The guy hasn't even been in his district in 2 years. I don't think he comes over for Christmas. Fighting for you? What the hell's he done? He's voted against every single bill that benefits you. He's done nothing. He didn't even successfully get a goddamn post office. What's this guy done for you? And I ask these people this. What has this guy done for you? And the answer is, he makes you mad. And that's good enough for me. That's the kind of shit that destroys a democracy. That's how you wind up with 1930s Germany, right there.
You destroy the institutions.
You make people distrust the institutions.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and this has been a Republican trope since Nixon, and most especially, I wonder what happened to David. He froze up there. This has been a Republican trope since not only Nixon, but in earnest since Reagan, which is Reagan's catchphrase that everybody thought was so fucking clever was, the most frightening words in the world are, "I'm from the government, I'm here to help." Well, goddamn it, man, you're in charge of the government. If the government is the problem and you're in charge of the goddamn government, well, then you're the problem, Ron. Figure it out. But, again, you have an entire country that hates and fears its government. You've heard me all say this many, many times. If you elect people who hate and fear government to run your government, you're going to get a government of hate and fear. That's how it works. Stop electing shitty people to run your government. America was designed to change our government and to change our society without revolution, without guns, without violence, without killing people. That's what made it exceptional. And so when people say, "Oh, America's exceptional," if change can only happen through blood and violence, there's nothing exceptional about that. That's the norm. The idea behind our government and our society was that we could make changes as society and the world changed, as we moved into the future without blood and violence and guillotines and killing each other. And yet, here we are. We literally have the leading Republican candidate for president of the United States, literally on television, talking about how he'll be a dictator on his first day, how he'll jail the press, how he'll imprison his enemies, and how if his followers visit violence on the rest of us, well, we've got it coming. And people are cheering. Now, it's possible to pull back from this. The end is never inevitable. The future is never inevitable. And I don't know that this is the worst place that America's ever been. I mean, we fought a civil war once upon a time. That's pretty bad. It might probably worse than this. Those of us who grew up in the 60s, the world was pretty chaotic during that decade. I mean, there was a lot of people visiting violence on each other during that decade too. I mean, a lot of Molotov cocktails and Patty Hearst and, violence and revolution and people in the streets and some really great music. And, and we lived through that somehow. And so we can do it again, but it requires citizens to show up. It's not and you, I think David mentioned earlier, and I hope you get him back here pretty quick. Um, David mentioned things like abortion, and on one hand, I'm as furious as all the rest of you. God damn it. You were warned. We warned you over and over and over again. This is what would happen. And people still, I goddamn kept the screen captures. I kept them because now I got people saying, well, I didn't really say that. Oh, you goddamn well did. And here's your words right here. You goddamn well did say it. You goddamn well said, I can't vote for that person. You're just trying to scare me, and I'm not going to vote because I'm scared. I'm just not going to do it. And they went off and voted for Jill Stein or something, and here we are. And now these people are trying to act like, well, we didn't do that. Yeah, you did, man. And so I hope, look, everybody's entitled to make stupid mistakes, and God knows I made plenty of them. But you're only stupid if you don't learn from those mistakes. And all I can say to people is I sure as hell hope that you learn from 2016. And not just 2016, but the last goddamn 2 decades. You got to show up. You got to show up. You got to show up. You got to show up whether you want to or not. And I'm seeing it right now. And I don't know how much of it is people actually saying this, or whether it is bad actors pushing this into the public consciousness via social media. But I see a lot of people saying things like, well, I can't vote for Gina. It's not going to show up. And again, I know that at least a significant fraction of that is propaganda. I know that that's active measures somebody's pushing because I used to do this for a living and I recognize it. But some of it is definitely percolating in. And there's always been this mentality amongst the far left in this country and some of the far right, the libertarian community, of burn it all down. That's a horrible attitude, man. That's the attitude of an arsonist. Fire. The United States was designed to be changed without burning it all down, and it's not necessary to burn it all down. And listen, man, I spent a lot of time in countries where people burned it all down. And if you think you're going to get bunnies and rainbows out of the other end of that, I got news for you, man. What you get is Somalia, and or the Balkans, or when very rarely does revolution produce a better world. It happens once in a while. Arguably, it happened at the founding of our country. But the odds are against it. The odds are you're not going to get something better. You're going to get something a hell of a lot worse. And even if you do get something better 10 years from now, it's goddamn hard on the people caught in the middle. And so what I would say to people is it's not necessary, again, to descend into blood and chaos and revolution and burning things down. We can change the world. You can get what you want or move in that direction, but you have to show up. And if you think that not showing up punishes all the rest of us, well, that is the mentality of a goddamn child. Punishing other people by burning the country down. My God, talk about infantile. All you have to do.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, I mean,
I'm tap dancing. I'm waiting for David to show up. God damn, where's David?
Oh.
Let's talk about our grandkids and photography or something. Or else.
Oh well, no. Well, actually, if you want to talk about photography, I gotta love the dive bombing pelican, the lopsided dive bombing pelican. I love that picture.
Yeah. Yeah, those are. It's a technique, and I'm watching the comments. We'll come back to you. Yeah. Like I see somebody talking about government holiday for voting day. Absolutely, I think that's a great idea. But photography is a skill. It's like anything else. Like learn how to play basketball. It's anybody can do it. It just takes practice and years of work and shitloads of money. but say this because right now on the other screen, people who know me know that there's a half a dozen screens in front of me here and in my office, and there's a screen over here to the left right now that is scrolling with Nikon ads for end of year equipment, and I'm ignoring. And anyway, yeah, the pelican thing. Birds are a pain in the ass to shoot, and every bird is different. And so I spent months learning how to track swallows for when you bought the swallow calendars. And thank you, all of you who have shown up and supported me and bought photography and paid for the stories. And thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. But the
Jim,
swallows, you track those, and then you go to take a picture of pelican, and it's a totally different thing. It might as well be another planet. It's completely different, and so your reflexes are all wrong, and you have to learn how to track that animal and how to do those things. And then after a while, you get you get fairly good at it if you practice at it and you anticipate. And it's a lot like I used to teach firearms, and so it's a lot like that, learning those muscle memory skills and that kind of thing. And then about the time you get good at that, people are sick and tired of looking at pelicans and going into the water, and so you move on to something else. But it's every shot is a challenge. It's all different light, different conditions, and so it's
I loved the dragonfly period. We'll
yeah, and I have to do more of those. Yeah, I need to do more of those, and I need to do more. I need to go back to macro photography. A lot of people really like the water drops and stuff, and I enjoy doing that sort of thing. The problem is that this year has been I've shot the things that I can shoot, which is primarily wildlife this year, because I've spent a lot of time on the road and back and forth, and so I'm already lugging 500 pounds of gear back and forth in my Mini, and in a small suitcase with my clothes, and then everything else is photography equipment. But it's just been that kind of year where I haven't had a lot of chance to do some of the other stuff that I enjoy. Dragonflies, that's a whole different ball game. That is different lenses, different place, different locations, and so that requires an entirely different technique. And I enjoy doing it. I love shooting dragonfly. To me, I'm more fascinated by insect photography than anything else. Insects are these weird alien machines, and every shot I shoot, a close up of insects always reminds me of. Have any of you ever read Carl Schrader's work? He's got a juvenile short story that talks about, I don't know, robotic mining equipment in the asteroids. And for some reason, every time I take pictures of wasps or dragonflies, it reminds me of that story. Plus, it's a great story. If you've never read his stuff, he wrote an entire series called the Virgus series. And so if you're sci-fi fans, you should definitely read that. And plus, I met him. He's a Canadian. He's a wonderfully nice guy, very smart, very intelligent, and one hell of a writer. Just an amazing writer. So, chance to read Lady of Mazes or any of his stuff, definitely do that.
That is part of the fun of doing this job. Because as you guys know, I'm also the editor of BQ Press, is all of the just fantastic writing you get to read. I mean, Jim, You're one of the most knowledgeable people I've ever met about science fiction.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Again, it's one of those things that sounds like a compliment, but that means you spent a lot of time reading sci-fi as a kid instead of doing something constructive. I don't know. Again.
It's meant as a compliment, Jim, because when we
I take it that way. I take it that way. Yeah, it is. It's it's fun. And one of the things I enjoy about going to cons, especially big cons like Worldcon. Worldcon's always one of my favorite things. In Chicago this year was a blast. It was great seeing you and hanging out with David and everybody else. And I got to this year. I just go and we reconnect with people that we know, and I get to see that I only see certain people at some of these conventions, but. The highlight of my convention this year is there's a writer, Brenda Cooper, out in your neck of the woods. I think you know her, and she's amazing. She's one of my favorite writers in the world. I think she's amazing, and I've never met her. Every convention I've been at that she's been at, we've always been going in different directions. I never got a chance to meet her, and I was sitting at a table, at your table, as a matter of fact, and I think you were gone. I think you went to lunch. I was sitting at your table and I was talking to a couple of my readers, and I looked up. We were all wearing masks, of course, at the beginning of the year, and I looked up and there was a woman standing there, and I asked her if she was looking for you, and she said no, she was looking for me, and I didn't know who she turned her badge, and it was Brenda Cooper. She'd actually come looking for me, and so that was the highlight of Chicago for me, was meeting Brenda Cooper, who, like I said, I think is an amazing writer. And again, if you haven't read her stuff, she wrote a novel, the definitive world building novel called Building Harlequin's Moon with Larry Niven a number of years ago now. But yeah, it's Brenda. And then she has a series. She has a trilogy that begins with a book that's got to have the single best title I've ever heard. It's called The Silver Ship in the Sea, and that's a great series if you get a chance. Plus, she's just a hell of a nice person. And so, anyway, that was the highlight. I mean, so those kind of things, going to conventions and running into people, and then of course MizCon. We were all together at MizCon in Missoula, Montana, and what a great convention that is. I mean, god damn, that's an outstanding convention. I really enjoyed that. It's great scenery, and nice people, and they treated me extremely well. I was the special guest of honor there this year, and so it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Those are great things. Those are the things that I like to do, and I wish we were doing that stuff instead of talking about democracy and the collapse of the republic. And so.
Well, if you're really good, I'll call Brenda Cooper up and say, Brenda, Jim would like to have a show where we sing your praises for an hour.
That's right. That's right. Get her on here, man. It'd be great. As somebody mentioned earlier, the other person that needs to be on here is Harry Turtledove. He's a blast too.
Seriously, she wrote
a friggin' hoot.
In a book, The End Games, we have that you and David are both in. You're in there with Brenda Cooper.
Yeah,
Wait, no,
yeah.
Brenda Cooper's in After the Orange.
Brenda
Cooper wrote the most wonderful dog story I've read from anybody almost ever, and it's in After the Orange. I'll put a link up. But Brenda is phenomenal. And welcome back, Dave.
Yeah, Brenda's a blast.
Yeah, we had a power glitch. It has happened 2 or 3 times. And I don't know what it is. I'm pretty sure it's not the fact that I'm running, 10,000 watts of electronic gear, because I'm not.
10,000 watts, yeah.
It's all I had in here was the computer running. Everything else was turned off. But apparently, the local power company, when it rains or the weather turns, we get these momentary glitches, and everything has to reset itself, including the internet router, which apparently takes 5 or 10 minutes. So anyway, I'm back. I hope I didn't miss anything important where Jim revealed the secrets of the universe.
No. We were still on you writing naked. We were still on that. Yeah. So.
Oh, well, believe me, it's not a pretty sight.
Now, did you wear glasses back then?
Oh yeah, I think I got glasses when I was about, 13, 14, somewhere in there. And my vision stayed pretty stable for the longest time, but now I'm checking my prescription every 2 years, maybe even more often, because my eyes are shifting just enough each year. So, yeah. So do I have a backup battery? I thought I had a UPS system connected to this machine, but apparently I have to get one that actually has uninterruptible power supply, because apparently everything. Well, no, actually I do. The machine stayed on, but the internet went off. The internet is not connected to a UPS. So, and I had to reboot.
Here in the Panhandle, the power is garbage anyway. So I have ups on everything on my. Well, you've been in my house, so my office is out 50 feet from the house. So the main router's in the house, and so there's a wireless link between the two. So both of those are on ups. And then the computer's on the ups, and then I have a 22 kilowatt automatic generator on the house because I live in Hurricane Alley. So
I'm going to find out where Sean stashed the router and connect a UPS to it. So but this is the only time it's happened during a conference. So but and I don't know. We'll figure it all out at some point. So anyway, but more important is what's up for 2024 is aside from the fact that we have a long year of electioneering. I think there's other stuff. I know. I don't know if it got mentioned while I was gone. Katine and I have a novel called Ripple Effects, which we're very proud of, and it's being serialized on Patreon. You can go to my Patreon page, and I think Jim is going to mention it too. And I have spent holiday week. The holiday period, putting together some collections of short stories and puns. I have my pun collection. I finally have a cover for it. And I will, as soon as I edit the text, I will put that up on my Patreon page first. And then hide my address because I don't want to get swatted by an angry mob with torches and pitchforks.
That's right.
It's like,
I don't know what a swatting would do, though, in Vermont. You'd show up with cheese and syrup or something.
yeah, that's it. I got to tell you, I mean, it's really there's a lot of little local stores around here. Yeah, we have a couple supermarkets like Hannaford's and Walgreens and whatever, but you go to the local stores, you find the local dog biscuits, the local cheeses, and everybody has pure Vermont maple syrup. So it's really a different way of shopping, and I like it a lot. I have maple cured ham, maple cured bacon, maple cured lettuce, whatever, maple cured eggplant.
What? It's in Michigan this year, and I stopped, I don't know, somewhere, some little stand, and I wound up with a jug of maple, because they make maple syrup in Michigan too. They're not as famous for it as Vermont, but they make maple syrup there too. But it was maple bourbon syrup. So yeah, the next time you're down here, David, we'll have to have that on our waffles. So
oh, absolutely. I was looking at some of the stuff in the store the other day, thinking, yes, I'll get that, but not today. It's like we've already bought a lot of stuff. It's like restocking a house once you move is maybe the most important, the expensive part. So. But if we get snowed in, we're not going to starve to death. You won't find our bodies when the snow thaws. We'll be okay.
Right. Yeah, it's the same here. And I'm glad you guys are, like I said, I'd more power to you being, I lived in Alaska for a long time and I spent most of my life north of the Arctic Circle. And now I live in the Panhandle of Florida. And the further I get from winter, I get.
So far we have had a very mild winter. We've had a couple of what they call cloud sneezes, where we get snow in the morning, and by the afternoon it has all melted away. So we haven't seen much snow, but a couple of the weather prognosticators say there's a chance of a big daddy snowstorm in January. So. I will probably go back to LA in January to get all my storage lockers shipped east. So so maybe I can miss the storm. We'll see.
Now, not to interrupt, guys, but remember you were talking about the wonderful, incredible Brenda Cooper?
Yeah, I do.
And this, she's a great promoter of other people's career. Like she took this Larry Niven character and wrote a book with it. But you talked about a wonderful work. Did you want to give a slight impression on that one while we got it up?
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's a great story. If you like world building, it's a very involved story. It's very much an amalgam of both Brenda and Larry, and Larry's kind of strange view of the universe, and very much humanized by Brenda. Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge Larry Niven fan, and I've read Niven since longer than I think I've read David. I don't know, maybe not quite that long, but pretty close. And of course, Larry and David. It was funny because I was just thinking of Larry Niven because David's talking about his new book's full of puns. Well, way back when Larry and David wrote a novel called The Flying Sorcerers that is nothing but puns from one end to the other that I periodically read with a magic marker in one hand, trying to find them all, because that book's a puzzle.
If you ever do, let me know.
Oh yeah, I doubt it. I mean, half of them I don't even understand. And
that book was fueled by a lot of Irish coffee, and Larry used to make great Irish.
You could tell. It's a lot of fun though. That's a hell of a fun book. And so Brenda and Larry produced a hell of a book, and it's been a while. That book's been around for a while now, but it's always worth your read if you were a Hal
Larry,
Clement, if you're a fan of Hal Clement and his intricate world building, then Harlequin Moon is definitely for you. But again, I would always push Brenda's trilogy, the silver that begins with the Silver Ship and the Sea. I really love those works, and so.
Larry's wife passed away a couple of weeks ago, Marilyn Niven, and it's very sad because she was in poor health for a long time. But man, she was she was a treasure, and I always loved seeing her at conventions. She always helped out with art shows and costuming, and was just one of those people who was just always contributing to everybody else, and just a sweet, sweet lady. And I was really sorry I didn't see her at a lot of conventions when her health went into decline because she couldn't travel.
Right.
And then, Larry seems to be holding up fairly well. So,
Well, give him my regards next time you see him, Dave, because some of my best convention stories circle around Larry Niven. He's a fun guy.
Larry did one of the best things I have. Somebody insulted him one time at a convention. I forget what the deal was. And Larry said, took the book away from him and said, "It is a privilege to read a Larry Niven novel, and that privilege has now been revoked. You will never again be allowed to buy a Larry Niven novel at any bookstore anywhere. I will inform them all shortly." I'm paraphrasing, but Larry has a bizarre, wonderfully bizarre, beautiful way of dealing with the world. And it's like, yes.
Here, I'll give you guys a fantasy about Larry Niven that you will appreciate. We set up a small bar once at a convention I was working, and we had Larry Niven and C.J. Cherry in there as the bartenders.
Oh, she's
and they
wonderful.
were just holding court and they're serving drinks. It was heaven.
Yeah, well, she was fun. She was a blast to talk to at MizCon, and so that was
She's one of the most intelligent people I have ever met on this planet.
Yeah. That's the thing about going to conventions, though. You run into people like that. People that are just Charlie Strauss, man. When I talk to Charlie Strauss, I mean, that guy's just intensely intelligent. When you talk to him, his intellect just burns through, and he's a hell of a nice guy. And so it's always amazing to talk to those people and to interact with them. It's a privilege to sit at a table and have dinner with them. And I miss it. What are we gonna do? I don't think I'll make Worldcon this year, but then again, you never know. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I think we're there. I think time's up. I think we're about there.
Well, no, I was just letting you guys go, but it would appear that as we end this hour, that you guys have touched on all the great topics, and I even saw the one on the war on mail-in ballots.
Oh God, yeah, Jesus, man.
Well, we have mail-in Washington State. Voter turnout is up. Fraud's virtually non-existent. We have it's good, and so I think that if you want to give 2024 a name, it's going to be the year of attempted voter suppression.
Oh, I think you're definitely going to see that. I mean, like I said, I live in the Panhandle. These people. I tell you, I vote in the middle of a gigantic Baptist church, Southern Baptist church, and no insult to your religion if that's what you are. More power to you, but I really don't think polling centers should be in churches, and especially one here where I have to go. The last time I went to vote for a president, the parking lot was full of Trump signs, and the people that were working the polls, and I know this is illegal, so you don't need to write and tell me, we're all wearing Trump hats. So, except for the lone person of color who was sitting at the table taking names and was actually following the proper protocol, but the angry old white people, and they were all wearing Trump hats in the polling station, and so. That's the kind of place that I live. I live in a place that elect Matt Gaetz, and so it's going to be a rough year. And I expect things are going to get worse before they get better, and that is the nature of the world. The trick is not to become defeated. And like I said, I see this. I mentioned this online. Polls are not a measure of reality. Polls are a method of manipulating public perception, and depending on who's behind them, they're either trying to make you so confident you feel like you don't need to show up, or so defeated that you'd rather just stay home and to hell with it. Don't listen to polls. Don't listen to critics. Don't listen to the goddamn pundits. Do your duty as a citizen. Show the hell up. And you can change the world. I grant you can't. It doesn't change fast. The world changes fast if it's getting worse, but making things better, that's incremental. It takes your whole life. And you're never going to be there. There's always another step to go. But that's how the world works.
Well, what I have always said is, you're not getting a pony. First, we have to clean up all this horse shit.
Right. And I was just thinking this the other day. It's funny. It's funny how many things that pertain to this. We've talked about politics and sci-fi, and I said don't listen to the polls and the pundits. I will also say to you on that note, don't listen to the goddamn critics, because movie critics' job is to make everybody sound miserable. Hate and dislike get clicks and likes. Liking something doesn't. I used to write movie reviews, and I will tell you, the weight man I got death threats for liking something. And on that note, you should, if you haven't watched Rebel Moon on Netflix, you damn well should, because it's awesome. I love it. And then the fact that every critic hates it, and every miserable, shitty little wannabe pundit on every sci-fi YouTube channel hates it. Don't listen to it. It's a blast.
Let me tell you this. I used to love going to the movies, and then I noticed something around the 90s, I guess, that as the lights went up and the audience is schlepping their way up the aisle, all the critics were, well, I don't know about the lighting in the day, or the script writing, and all of a sudden, this little self-appointed critics they had been watching too much Siskel and Ebert, and me, it's I'm going to. Did I have a good time at the movie? Yeah, I had a good time, right? That's all I want to know. Am I going to have a good time? And I hated going to the movies, because at the discussions afterwards were these wannabes who'd never been to film school, never written a script, never fought their way through a production meeting, never had any idea what it took to get the whole thing in front of the camera. And they're talking about it as if they're experts. It's like as if they know what they're talking about. It's like, man, I go to the movies when the theater is empty. There's
you go to be entertained, right?
Yeah,
you and I
go
watch
to have
movies
a good
for the
time.
same reason. We go to, and that's why we like the same stuff, because we go to entertain. I don't expect a movie to change my life. I don't plan on living my life by the Jedi code or whatever the hell it is. I go to a movie to be entertained. That's my bottom line is, was I entertained? And I'll tell you, movies like, I will say this. If a critic begins his review with a comparison to the Seven Samurai, I turn it off right there, because they're not really interested in the movie. They're interested in impressing you with their knowledge. And I will bet you 95% mentioned the Seven Samurai. I've never seen that goddamn movie. But
I've seen it. I've seen it. I don't know, 20 or 30 times, and each time I see something new in it, and it's such a brilliant movie.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
But
I will
use that as a standard.
Yeah. Like you said, it's one of many, but there's a hell of a lot of good stuff. That's the thing. There's a lot of good stuff out there that never sees the light of day. And the same people that are right now bitching that there's nothing new out there are the same people that will only watch another goddamn Avengers movie or another goddamn Star Wars installment. And don't get me wrong, those are fine. I enjoy them as much as anybody else. Well, I don't really. I tell you, I'm about sick and tired of seeing Marvel movies, but things like Rebel Moon or The Creator, if you've seen The Creator, and I grant you The Creator, the end of it kind of falls short as far as I'm concerned. But the movie's visually stunning. The acting is fantastic. John David Washington's a brilliant actor. My God, man. And so go see the things that the critics hate, man. Get out there, read the books that the critics don't like. Definitely read the books that they want to ban from your school libraries. Do those things. Those are 2020 to be a rough year. There's no doubt about it. We're looking at chaos. We're looking at violence. We're looking at a lot of people that are really dedicated to making the world a worse place, and that includes entertainment and those kind of things. So joy is where you find it. So go find it. Get out there, man. If you enjoy painting pictures, paint pictures. If you enjoy taking images with camera, if you enjoy writing stuff, if you're out there and you want to be a writer, write. Do it. And don't let people tell you that you can't. I mean, I don't know that you'll ever write the great American novel, but God damn it, you don't know unless you do it. So get after it. And don't let the people, this is something I've talked about in my own timeline for the last couple of days. Good government should be boring. The problem with that is that boring doesn't sell newspapers. And so people that make a living through the media don't make a living by telling you things are great. This is right now. The country's in a hell of a lot better shape now than it was 4 years ago. Prices are down. Inflation's under control. Unemployment's the lowest it's been since the Second World War. By every measure, the country is in good shape and things are getting better, but you would not know that from watching the goddamn TV or the internet, because those things don't make clicks and likes. They don't sell newspapers. The people that make a living doing this have no vested interest in selling you good news. So don't listen to
Yeah, somebody tried to put out a good news newspaper one time, or a good news, and they went bankrupt. Nobody wants good news,
with like a month or something. It was never nothing, because people don't want that. Because again, and this is again, and this is not just see this example everywhere. Religion is this way. You don't fill the pews with bunnies and rainbows. Preachers, you don't come to see a preacher tell you that things are great and that you're fine and that your God loves you and that do unto others and feed the hungry and clothe the poor, heal the sick. You fill pews by telling everybody they're in mortal danger, they're going to hell. Everybody else is going to burn it. If you don't get your ass in here, put money in a plate.
Look, this is the secret of television. Television promises to entertain you, but the cost is every 10 minutes they interrupt themselves to tell you that you smell bad. Right. And it is it's all about creating a need so they can sell you stuff. Right. Now, I don't watch much TV, and so I go into the stores and I buy what I need. I don't buy what I'm told I need. Right. And it's a whole different way of existing. You turn off the advertising, and your life gets simpler.
Right. Again, there's a hell of a lot of people that are vested in doom and gloom and telling you that the future is going to be horrible. It doesn't have to be that way. Yeah. And on the other hand, you will. This is something that I struggle with my own readers and my own audience all the time. It never ends. That's the thing, though, and that's the problem with a lot of voters, is that they think that they elected somebody they really like, someone like Obama, for example, and it's over. We're done. We did our job. Now it'll take care of itself, and we don't have to worry about it. That's never true. It never ends. You're always shoveling shit against the tide. The tide is always going to come in. It never ends. It's a battle your entire life. You never reach a point where you can just stop and let somebody else do it. It's if you're a citizen of democracy, it is always on you. The day you're born till the day it works. And the world is a better place because you make it that way, or it's a worse place because you either make it worse or you just don't give a shit and let somebody else do it. And I hear this all the time. When you expect me to vote for the lesser of evils. Yes, you know what you get when you vote for the lesser of evil? Less evil. That's how it fucking works. No shit, man. You're never going to get what you want. You're never going to get everything that you want. That's how the world is. And to think that you are somehow entitled to the perfect government and the perfect candidate, that is a freaking fantasy, man. It's not going to happen that way. The world doesn't work that way. And it never has, and it never will. And I don't know why the hell you think like that. Bottom line is that democracy is a lot of work. The world is a lot of work. Civilization is a lot of work, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it. And it's not about you. It's about the world that we and our grandchildren and the future. And so you got to keep fighting. You got to keep showing up. You got to show up every time, whether the election is for dog catcher or for president. And that's the thing that happens in America. People show up every 4 years and they think they've done their job, but it's all these little elections in between because, 2016 is a perfect example. And people yell at me all the time. They say, we did show up. 3 million of them, more of us voted for Hillary Clinton than voted for Donald Trump. Yeah, you showed up for the one election where your vote doesn't matter. But you didn't show up for all the little elections in the middle. And those are the people who pick the electors who go to the electoral college. You got to show up. You got to show up every time. And, and that's how it is. So now we're 15 minutes past the window. And so.
Oh, Jim, people, normally about this time I ask them if I should tell you what time it is, and they all say no.
I drank a triple espresso right before we started this shit, so I can go on for at least another 45 minutes without taking a breath. I'm just saying.
You're good at that. You're
that's a perfect spot for it. That's what she said joke in the comments. I'm just saying. Just point out that opportunity.
Well, I'll tell you what I will do right now. I'm going to say, always leave them wanting more.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah, well, I'll say it this time. But I just know that having you and David here has been a very great pleasure. And I will remind people that next week we have Mad Robbins on with us. And she'll be brought to you. I think we have Brenda Clough and Irene Radford with her. So it should be a wonderful show. And I encourage you guys to come back next week and watch, because these are smart people. And I tell you, there's one thing that makes it fun having you guys on is you're smart people. So
smart as you're going to get anyway.
Thank you so much. And wave goodbye if you choose to. And